So that was the vibe that we went into, was like 90s, early 2000s rock, and
it worked.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna see Evanescence next month. So this keeps me.
I'm glad that Amy Lee is back with Evanescence, because it was not Evanescence without Amy Lee.
Yeah. She recently did something with a woman I've been in love with for years. And now I can't even remember her name.
I know, I think I know the collab that you're talking about, but I can't remember her name either.
Is it the girl from Hailstorm?
I was gonna say, is it Lizzie Hale?
Lizzie Hale.
No.
She is incredible. Like, she wears these like 10-inch heels, and she carries this big guitar up on stage, and she's like this tiny little lady. Oh, and she rocks. And her brother is one of the greatest drummers that I've ever seen live. So they're going to be, I'm going to Louder Than Life in Louisville, Kentucky next month. And so it's like Evanescence will be there. Hailstorm will be there. So yeah.
Well, that's funny, because that's the reason I know Lizzie Hale, is because she did a collab with Lindsey Sterling, who I think you were talking about. Like, we did the
Lindsey
I was
Sterling.
like, Lindsey Sterling has to be who he's talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I first heard Lizzie Hale. And I know Hailstorm is on tour with The Pretty Reckless, which, who would have thought from like Gossip Girl days that's what the direction Taylor
Momsen. Cindy Lou Who.
I know. Crazy. She's great though.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think everybody kind of like, made fun of it a little bit when she first started, like, little Jenny is going like, going into her goth phase, and
I'm sure she's sick of hearing about it.
Yeah, she's great. So.
House on a Hill is such a epic track. Have you heard that one? House on a Hill.
I really mostly have heard the ones that she's put out like they've put out videos for.
Check that one out. House on a Hill.
Okay.
Crazy. So good.
I will check it out. Yeah. That's good music for when, especially since it's been so long since like Paramore's put anything out, which is usually one of my like go-to angsty rock bands. So
what are your feelings on Machine Gun Kelly? Weird question, right?
It's not a weird question, because I know he gets like crapped on. I thought that Tickets to My Downfall was a great album.
So this same festival that I'm going to next month, I went to it last year because we went to see Metallica headline 2 nights, and he was there, and he got booed off the stage. I mean, he had security guards everywhere because it was a gravel area that all the people were in. So they were worried about people throwing rocks at him. Everybody hated him, right? But he covered Misery Business.
Yeah.
And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't like, kind of jamming and vibing to it. So I give him that.
If you not listened to Tickets to My Downfall, like, I think it's kind of like almost the perfect like pop punk album. Like, nobody's done that in such a, way too long. Like, it gives very like Warped Tour vibes. Mm-hmm. Now, like the most recent one he did, I listened through it and I was like, okay, so you're like, you're kind of doing just basically the same thing again, but you did it really great the first time. So that's my like, I don't know if you've seen the like British show that does the like unpopular opinion bit. Give us your unpopular opinion. And I'm like, my unpopular opinion is that like I thought Tickets to My Downfall by Machine Gun Kelly was a great album.
Well, I think a lot of the mistake he made was he spent a lot of time on his live tour shit talking people like Slipknot for wearing masks in their 40s.
Yes, he sure did. That was why.
This was I wouldn't do that.
This was the metalhead crowd, right, at Louder Than Life. And so, you can't say stuff like that. And Slipknot will be there this year. So I have a feeling like Corey Taylor is going to maybe say something about like, oh, I saw you guys were booing Machine Gun Kelly last year and sticking up for me. And I appreciate that. I'm expecting that.
Like, he seems like a jackass, and that is like getting in his way, like, I'm like, just stop talking.
But at this point, like, it's sort of his shtick, like that's sort of like his thing. And like, say what you will about him, but I don't know if you saw The Dirt or not, the Motley Crue movie they did.
No.
But I thought that he was a better Tommy Lee than what's his face from Marvel? What's his name, Tyler?
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that he was a better Tommy Lee than Sebastian Stan was. So I'll give him that all day.
We're just full of hot takes.
We are.
So many hot takes.
That's what we do here.
Yeah,
I like it.
So it's going to be very similar to the last time we talked. We'll introduce you, talk a little bit about how life's been, and then we have a series of, I sent you basically a makeshift version of what we have in front of us. So some things were omitted from you, especially in the flash round, because I can't have you planning.
Oh yeah,
no, that's fine. I really
on the
didn't
spot.
I didn't prepare anything. I just was like, I was like, okay. I literally watched like a recap of Witcher season 2 on YouTube because I was like, it's been just like a hot minute since I've seen it.
These are too long apart. Like my mom just asked me before when I was telling her that we're talking with you again, and she was like, "When do we get Witcher season 3?" I said, "Not till the winter." She went, "Yeah, I think that's bullshit."
I just like, there's so much stuff to watch that it's like, if it's not like really fresh, especially for stuff that like doesn't get drawn out over any amount of time, that you like binge it over the span of a couple days and then it's like on to the next
season.
Like it does not stick a lot of the time. So I was just like, okay, I need to go back and like remind myself what happened.
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir on that one, sis. I gotta just admit it. I haven't finished Witcher season 2.
Okay.
I haven't even, I got like 2 or 3 episodes in and then I got caught up with something else. It seems like there's this period of time, like in the fall, in the summer, where everything just drops all at once, you know, like earlier in the summer, gosh, I don't even remember the things that came out, but Tyler was on vacation and was like, The Boys came out and
Stranger Things, The Boys,
Stranger Things, all this stuff was out all at one time. And it was like, bro, you can't go on vacation when this stuff happens ever again.
I was so behind for like.
When you just always feel so much pressure to like, I mean, like when, you know, the Stranger Things dropped and I'm just like, okay, like I can't really like go onto the internet until I watch. So you feel this pressure to like, you know, if you don't want spoilers, like the reasonable expectation for the amount of time that you can avoid spoilers has gotten very small.
Yes.
So, so it's like this pressure of like, okay, like, you know, I'm either going to like, you know, not go on the internet and try and watch this as fast as possible, or I'm definitely gonna have it spoiled.
And it's so hard with stuff like Stranger Things when every episode was like a full-length movie.
Yes.
You know, like I had a really hard time getting through it. And I loved it. Like I thought it was great, but I was like, good grief, like I don't have this time to devote to this to get caught up fast enough. So it's a struggle.
We have jobs. We can't just like take a day off just to like sit and watch Stranger Things. But yeah. So then should we keep Witcher season 2 spoiler free for
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not it doesn't mean enough to me that it's gonna like break my heart if anything's spoiled. Did anything crazy happen?
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
There's some pretty serious stuff with stuff with her.
That's okay. I'll forget about it by the time I watch it anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. And there was some time where we had magicless Yen.
Yeah. Ooh. And then like the big kind of mic drop moment at the end of the season, which somebody's alive that you think is dead. So I know. Intrigue.
No, it's fine. Yeah, let's let it all. You can spill the beans. It's cool.
Okay.
There's no limits.
Okay.
All right.
That's
good. So everybody ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sweet. What's up, nerds and nerdettes? We're back with one of our favorite guests we've ever had, Beth Crowley, and just returned to the show. And so much has happened in almost a year since we last spoke. And it's insane. Like when you think like, oh, it's a year, that's such a long time. It really hasn't felt like it, but you've had so much happen for you just since we last talked. So before we get into all that, how have you been? Like, how's life?
I'm just, just hustling hard, I guess. I've still just been putting out a ton of music. I know you had said like, let's go over like what if you put anything out. I'm like, I've put out just all the things. Yeah, I mean, I just have been on the cycle of releasing kind of on average a new song every month, and that definitely keeps me busy.
What's the most recent one that you've released?
So the most recent one is called If I'm Being Honest. And
Ted Lasso.
Yes, it's inspired by Ted Lasso. So it's like for such a, beautifully like wholesome show. It's like I took the saddest aspect of it and I was like, let's do a song about this. But yeah, so that's the most recent one. And then I've got another I don't know. I guess I decided to do 2 like bummer songs in a row. So I've got another sad one coming out in a couple weeks, but that was kind of my latest, like based on something song was the Ted Lasso one.
I can't recall if we talked about it and what we released in the recording or if it was off the air, but we talked about that blue check on social media. And I think at the time that we talked last time, you didn't have the blue check, right?
No,
but now, as we speak, Beth Crowley has the blue check next to her name on social media.
I finally have the validation that I so desperately constantly need. I mean, it's such a weird thing because you can apply for it through Instagram and you're just like basically saying like, yes, I am me. I mean, you send them like, the copy of your driver's license and I don't know, you're trying to like prove that like you are somebody that people would potentially imitate. Or do like, accounts to the point where people might get confused of which one is like actually you. So I mean, you can reapply every 30 days and every 30 days I was like, promise that's me. And, they'd be like, we don't believe you. And I'm like, okay. So finally with my distribution company, that's the one that like actually gets my music out to all the streaming services and stuff. I have a rep over there and I had talked to them and was just like, do you know anything about this process? Because what I had been hearing is that you have to like pay for it now. Like they're gatekeeping it to the point where it's like, like I don't know, meet up with somebody in a back alley and it's like, we'll get you verified, but it's going to cost you. And so I emailed them and I was just like, do you know anything about this? Is this true at all? And they were like, we've heard of it, but we should be able to get you verified. And I was like, I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath because I've been trying to do this for a really long time, but they made it happen. And just, I mean, I feel so legit. Like none of the other things that I have done, like all of the music I've released, I'm like, no, now I'm an artist. Like now I've made it.
Well, congratulations. That really is a big deal. So we're super happy for you.
Thank you.
That's great. So you said
in a world of like, especially with these days, and I don't want to, speak down of anyone who's become famous through like TikTok or when Vine was around, I still think it's fame, even if they're not John Krasinski, that they still have millions of followers and they're getting paid to do it. It's a professional job, but like, it's such a massive world now. YouTube, social media platforms, TikTok, content creating, cosplay content creating. It's such a massive world. It's gone from being this little fishbowl of a world to an aquarium. So much, and there's so much out there, and it's like, but not all of them got that blue check. They might have the followers and all this content, but there is something to say about the official blue check.
I had such a good time like making jokes about it where I'm like, because I found out about it right before I had like a couple days where I was recording. And I was like just purposely so obnoxious about it. Like, like, I don't know, we'd be working.
You have the right to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like I've known Daniel, who is my producer, forever. So like, he knows that I'm not actually a diva, but I would be like, I don't know, maybe that was good enough before I got a blue check, but so I really milked it for all it was worth.
It's
So.
sort of bizarre to me that, I spend my day with teenagers, right? And they know people who have the blue checks because of the TikTok and Twitter and, all that stuff. They know those names more so than like mainstream actors from movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And it just blows my mind. So like, this is a huge deal. So like, if I walk into school this week, I'm like, hey guys, guess what I did over the weekend? I talked to someone with a blue check by their name. They'd be like, whoa, So it's a huge deal. So again, congrats. That's huge.
Absolutely.
It's a weird feeling when it's like I'm not doing anything differently, but just like, except for like having this honor bestowed upon me. I'm like, it doesn't change. Like I'm not doing anything like more or different or better. I just, I just have that like powerful little blue stamp of, I mean, I don't know if you've watched Taylor Tomlinson's stand-up specials.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you know the part where she's like, "Am I better than everyone?" And I definitely was putting out some of that. Like, am I better than everyone?
Her quarter life crisis one that was on Netflix early pandemic, I quoted it so much, and people would just be like, "We've seen it." I'm like, "Oh, I know, but it's good." Like,
let me just remind you about it.
Let me just remind you.
That's what makes it so we can have this inside joke where I can say that line and you'll be like, yes, I recognize the reference.
So, Beth, you said that you're trying to, release a different song every month. We talked about the Ted Lasso song, which was one of those gut-wrenching, heartfelt. Like I actually just listened to it, like in the last hour. And I was like, oh, you really feel that one. You said the next one that you're working on is also sort of a heart-wrenching song.
Yeah.
Is that one, can you give us any sort of clues or little hints about, is it based on anything in particular or what?
It's not. So it's not based on anything, but a lot of times with my stuff, so like my, real life is not all that exciting. There's not lots of like dramatic fodder for songwriting. So a lot of times I just come up with these like, what if I wrote a song from this perspective? So so this next one that's coming out, it's basically like the struggle of, first of all, when you have this amount of time that like society thinks that you should get over something, where it's like, okay, like this much time has passed, so you should be better now, right? So it's kind of dealing with that, and also dealing with like, having somebody not in your life anymore and they seem to be doing fine, and you're like, well, I'm very much not fine, like glad that you're great, but I'm having a hard time about it. So yeah, so it's sad. It is sad, but I've got another, like my October release I'm very excited about, because I feel like if this isn't the like mental health anthem that everybody needs right now, I don't know what is. Because I'm very like open about mental health stuff on YouTube, and so I came up with this line. I've always been a little sad. Good thing they make a pill for that. And so that serves as like the first line of this very just like tongue-in-cheek song about like, I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine. So it's definitely a huge vibe shift from the like couplet of sad songs I had between If I'm Being Honest and this next one. And then October I come out with like the,
so this
we're fine, right? Like it's everything's okay.
It's going to be like the exact opposite of Happy. That song you did, what, 20 before the pandemic?
Classic.
I love that song.
Yep.
I love that.
Thank you so much. I love writing like comedy into music. So I've definitely done a few songs that are just like full tilt sarcastic comedy, and this is definitely one that is like super sarcastic. And then my last release for the year, I'm not sure if it's going to be November or December, but I won't give too much away, but I am collaborating with somebody that I have collaborated with before, that people really seem to enjoy. So I'm excited to reveal that. It's always so hard having all of these things planned so far in advance, because like, you get really excited about, finishing something you're working on. Like, okay, great. Like, can't wait to, have everybody hear this in 4 months.
Yeah.
So, so it's always hard to just like sit tight and wait for the projects that I'm excited about to come out. But that's kind of the last 3 of this year for me.
Any chance you could, sorry, any chance you could fill us in on like the title of the next one?
So the next one, September 7th is when it comes out. It's called How Do You Do It?
Okay.
How do you do it?
Mark your calendars, folks.
Yep.
So you haven't started working on a song about Georgia being the national champions?
I feel like there's some things that are just like so great that like mere mortals cannot fully capture the magnitude. So yes, I mean, if I can ever find the words, then maybe, but I still am speechless.
Tyler, is the Tennessee Georgia game at home this year for us? Do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we're between hedges this year.
I'm not going to talk trash. I'm just going to point to that Natty statue and let it speak for itself.
All right. I saw a joke the other day that said the last time gas prices and inflation was this high was the last time that the Bulldogs won the national championship. So obviously, them being champions aren't good for America.
I mean, we can go with that narrative. That's fine. Like I've been of the, like everybody can say whatever they want to. It doesn't change anything.
You have Georgia has waited and waited and waited. So
being a Georgia fan, especially being a just really an SEC team fan that's not Alabama is very hard. Like I feel like we're all like kind of having the same like collective trauma as SEC teams if you're not Alabama, because it's just like you just basically have to like defeat Goliath in order
I don't even see what the fun is in being an Alabama fan. Because you always win. Like
I like stakes, like I love being an underdog. It's not as exciting if you're like projected to win.
Exactly.
And, I love a good underdog story, and we had an underdog story, so
I was very happy because I was like, God, someone finally dethroned Alabama. All of the SEC East were just like, we did it.
Yeah. Well, it was so perfect because, Alabama beat the pants off of us in the SEC championship. And it's like, we have this whole thing where it's like redemption and like the walk-on quarterback. And God, I mean, it was just like all of the stars aligned. Yeah, the gates of heaven opened and shone down upon us. I mean, it was chef's kiss.
I saw something the other day. Nick Saban has signed on until like 2030 or something like that. So things probably aren't going to change too much in the next few years.
How old is he?
That's what I said, right? I think he's 70.
74.
I think he's like 70. I think I looked it up. Yeah.
Bold.
He's old.
That's a bold move.
For a college football coach, he's old.
Yeah.
But
he's basically like, I'm gonna do like 8 more years of coaching college football, and at 78 I'll finally be old enough to run for president. So
you know what though, I would probably vote for him. I mean, I guess it depends on what his policies are, but
I mean, he knows how to win.
He knows how to
manage.
He does know how to win, and he better know how to win for $10 million a year. So
I'm just saying, a lot of pressure.
So we talked about a lot of stuff coming out. You mentioned one thing, Stranger Things. What were your thoughts on the 4th season?
I loved it. Look, I know a lot of people, at least a lot of people that I talked to, were like, I don't know, like for the first couple episodes, we're kind of skeptical. And I'm like, the Duffer Brothers, they have my trust. Yes. They have not disappointed us yet. So I was like, I get that this is definitely a different vibe for the first couple of episodes, but I'm like, I trust them. And I just thought it was fantastic. And it was really cool too, because Jamie Campbell Bower has been in so many like very popular franchises. And he was actually, when they did the movie adaptation of The Mortal Instruments, which is the book series that I wrote Warrior based off of, he was Jace in the movie. They never got a second movie. It didn't do great. But so I've been like following his career, you know, for all of that time. And it's really cool when somebody that like you've been kind of like hanging with from the beginning, like has their moment, and you're just like, I feel like such a hipster. I can say that I liked him before it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're musical and Harry Potter fans. He was in both Sweeney Todd and Harry Potter, and people were like, Vecna, number one. I'm like, listen, longer than Stranger Things.
Back in my day, he was singing to a blonde girl on a balcony.
When I was in high school,
Joanna.
I mean, apparently he like I was one of those people that I went and saw the Twilight movies when they came out in theaters and then just never watched them again. But I do remember that he was in like the later Twilight movies too.
He was one of the Volturi member. He was one of the creepy brother in the Volturi.
Yeah. So I'm like, he's just like popular franchise. Like I'm in.
Hey, give me it.
I'm glad that he's having his moment because he was fantastic. And it was so it was so wild to know that was him, that it wasn't CGI. Yes. I saw a couple of videos of them like constructing, and I guess it's the same SFX people that did the White Walkers for Game of Thrones. Yeah. So seeing just like how they created that and like how long it took for them to apply everything, and I just think that stuff was wildly cool.
One of the comparisons I saw was like he physically looked like if Jim Carrey's Grinch shaved. He
I love that.
With his hands on his hips. There's like a behind the scenes of him standing like this, waiting for the cameras to go. And someone put the side by side, and they were like, "Wait a second."
That is hilarious.
Hate, double hate.
Completely accurate. Yes.
It was a great season. We got to meet Eddie, who just like a lot of people in their one season off characters, grab our hearts, make us fall in love. And you know that he's not going to make it because you've fallen in love with him in episode 1 and 2, like Bob, and even Billy in season 3 to a point. You know, you started to feel for him. You know, and one of the things the Duffers say they regretted on record is Chrissy's stuff leading to her death was all filmed before the Chrissy and Eddie stuff together. So they were like, oh man, their chemistry is really
so good.
And darn, we've already killed her. We're not going to change it. We can't go back and change everything. So, I mean, it sucks that it happened. Who were some of your new favorites that popped out this season?
I mean, obviously Eddie. Eddie's great. I mean, I'm still always like team Steve. I love Steve. And I also love that he is somebody that he was like, he is the reason that they changed the character to not be this like one-dimensional, like, you know, jock.
Yeah.
You know, jerk. Like he was so charming. And so I just love the evolution of like, you know, he's like this like father, like weird father figure for Dustin. And so Steve will have my heart.
Joe Keery is my number one pick to play the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four.
All right.
Yeah. Can you see that one?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I can see that. I can picture that.
I love the at the end of this season when Robin's finally talking to the girl.
Yes.
And he's just like the proud papa, just nodding, smiling. It's like, God, Steve's come so far. And I mean, looking ahead, we know 5 is fifth and final. But the Duffers they've got paid by Netflix. They're doing a spinoff series. They're creating a Broadway play based on Stranger Things. And they're doing the Death Note live action series. So the Duffers have gotten paid, and they're going to be working. What do you see happening in 5?
Gosh. I mean, I think they're going to have to actually kill off some main characters. I mean, at this point we have like, because it what ended on the like kind of collision between the Upside Down, and the Upside Down has now kind of come into our
Hawkins.
world. I don't even want to speculate, because anything I speculate is not going to be as good as what they're actually going to do.
But as Team Steve though, do you think he's going to make it? Because I'm thinking no.
I feel like that is their way to redeem killing Eddie, is to not kill Steve. I feel like you would actually just have people rioting in the streets if they killed Eddie and then they kill Steve.
Let's hope you're right.
I hope
because
so.
I thought that he wasn't going to make it past this most recent season, and I was wrong about that. So I hope that I'm wrong again.
Yeah,
because he's one of my favorites.
He's great. He's great, and I love that they like just like the little details, like they took the expectation of like him and Robin getting together at the end of last season and completely flipped the script, and it could have been this like like weird moment where he kind of has a negative reaction to it, and he just like so seamlessly slides into like, sweet, like I'm gonna now be your wingman.
Cool.
Yeah, and I thought that was such a like cool twist that they did, and yeah, I just
Steve's the homie.
Yeah, and I was definitely way more team Steve and Nancy this season. Like Jonathan, I didn't feel like was
nobody did. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that was by design. I don't know.
Could be. They're smart guys. They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of spinoffs, Game of Thrones ended a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Most people not so happy with how it ended. I tried to defend it for a long time, but I've given up. I've given up that fight. It's a losing battle. But now we've got House of the Dragon, the story of the Targaryens. Have you seen it so far?
Yes, watched the first episode a couple days ago, and kind of went into. I think the thing it has going for it is that like people kind of went in with very mild expectations, because people were so unhappy with the last season of Game of Thrones, which I'm kind of right there with you. Like I definitely did not have the just like to the bone hatred that a lot of people. I'm like, look, Daenerys has been set up as like a complete like she is about to snap at multiple times during this entire season. This is not surprising. Yes. Like she's the daughter of the Mad King. Like
you don't want to wake the dragon.
Right. I mean, this is and she has moments where she is like, she just proves that she is like cold. So I mean, as far as people like upset about that, I was like, they've been leading up to this for this entire story. Now there were certain things where it was like, I was lukewarm about the like Bran being the one ending up on the throne. I was just like, after all of that, like that just felt like, but then I always think about it too, where I'm like, it's got to be so hard to come up with the finale for something that is like people are just so invested in. And I feel like there would have been very few ways that they would have pleased everybody. Right. And I also don't know, like, it's not like I have an alternative, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like, I don't want to be one of these people that like craps on it. And it's like, but I don't have any better ideas.
It was definitely like, I can just say like, it was underwhelming. I totally get that. It was a little underwhelming. It was a lot underwhelming, but what else could they have done? And Tyler and I are wrestling fans. And I think all the time, like if wrestling that has been years and years and years of storylines and characters that have been built up, if they had to just end it all in one night, like, all right, this is the end of this whole decades long, stories we've built. There's no way they could end it and make it good and make people happy. Yeah. People were so invested in Game of Thrones and so just in love with it and invested in that world and those characters. There was nothing that they could have done that would have been pleasing to everybody.
And I mean, even when it comes to like Jaime and Brienne and like how he, pieces out and ends up with Cersei, I'm like, that's honestly kind of realistic as far as like sometimes people have these like great character development arcs and sometimes they just like you hope for the best and they just don't. They go back to what's like familiar and crappy for them. So I was like, I didn't like it, but I understood it.
I felt like they had to be together in the end.
Yeah, I think the biggest flaw was that it was just too rushed. They needed an extra like 4 episodes to really flesh out everything that they were trying to do.
Well, and knowing that he wanted 10 seasons and D&D were who said, nah, we can do it in 8. Like, no. If you're creating now, because like we're past source material. If you're creating this, you can't let it fall because it doesn't come back on him. We love his books, and we're going to read the next one where he does kind of do his ending. But you guys, lost a lot of clout. I mean, they had a franchise waiting for him at Disney for Star Wars that got nixed because of the backlash. It's like,
I think, it's such a fascinating thing that for something that was just like so like in rooted in pop culture. I mean, that final season, it's like everybody just does not talk about Game of Thrones anymore. Like I've never seen something be such a pop culture phenomenon and fall off so hard.
Right.
So all that being said, I mean, I went into the House of the Dragon with like managed expectations. And the first episode, I was like, okay, like I'm in this. I feel like it's nice that it's not a prequel really of any characters or anything that they had fleshed out in Game of Thrones. Like it's a prequel that I think they made a couple of allusions to these people, but nothing concrete. So they didn't like paint themselves into any kind of box, like, some of the like origin stories with Star Wars where it's like, well, where it's going to go. And so now you have to kind of retroactively fit these like stories to make sure it gets there. Like, I feel like they had more, freedom. And apparently so far, like I haven't read the source material, but my husband has, and he says it's following it pretty closely so far. But yeah, I mean, I think there's enough interest, and you don't have to do all of the world building again. Like the world is established, but you kind of have free reign of all of these characters to tell these stories that, you don't necessarily have to funnel it to go in a particular direction.
I remember when Game of Thrones was at its height, every Sunday, the excitement of what's going to happen on Game of Thrones. So I got to say, like last Sunday, it was really cool to be back in that, like, oh, here we are, we're back in Westeros, and here's the Red Keep and King's Landing and all this stuff. And it's like, it sort of felt very familiar. And it felt good, and I'm all in. I'm really excited to see what happens. But I got to know, just in one episode, are you feeling any inspiration for any music?
Oh gosh, honestly, the thought had not occurred to me, but people seem to really like Empire, which was based on Daenerys. So I could definitely see that being a possibility, kind of depending on how the story goes. I'm just enjoying consuming it.
You could title the song "Matt Smith Can Do Anything."
Yeah,
literally, the man can play any part. I was a little hesitant because, like, I'd seen him in a little bit of Doctor Who, and obviously other things he'd done, and The Crown, and he's a great actor. And recently saw him in Morbius. And I was a little nervous at first. I was like, hey, is it just going to be Matt Smith with a blonde wig on? And no, he's great. I mean,
we don't talk about Morbius.
He's the only one who, if I'm correct in reading some of the interviews, is he's one of the few characters that, since he's such a phenomenal physical actor and all that, he's going to stay as he ages. Whereas when they flash forward and flash back, his sister is a different actress each time.
Yeah.
He's going to get to stay the same because they've got so much faith in his performance style and what he can do
so much now with, like, I mean, hair and makeup and like, so I mean,
visual effects.
Right. But, it's one thing to like do the visual effects to age somebody, but like to actually make it believable with like the physical acting is a whole different thing. So that's cool that they have enough faith in him to be able to do that.
I've seen some hate online about, and I don't know if these are new people or what, talked about the brutality of the first episode. And one, I was like, this is Game of Thrones.
True.
Have you not seen the entire series before this? Have you not read the books? And two, I was like, I don't think they've even scraped the surface of how brutal it will get. And three, this is the Targaryen bloodline. Their entire heritage is blood and flame.
Yeah.
That and anger and warmongering, and that's their hotheads. And so they're brutal. They're gonna be. And I say bring it on.
Those are the people that you're just like, are you new here? Like, really? I'm like, I honestly was surprised that I didn't, see more gore or more boobs. Like, that's what, to me, that's like the expectation, especially early season HBO shows. It's like, you're gonna see some parts and you're gonna see some violence. And so I thought for like the, Game of Thrones standard, I was like, this is honestly kind of mild.
Like, this is more like Lord of the Rings compared to the last series they did.
Yeah. Oh man. But no, I think it's really promising so far. I'm excited to see. And I'm just excited for like, I feel like so many things now are like the binge format. And there is something, like you said, really fun about that anticipation of like the build up to the new episode. I mean, that's one thing that I miss about like regular, old school TV when they, put out stuff weekly is like the, I mean, I feel like the last thing that I can remember that, we were so excited to watch was The Mandalorian, because they had it one episode at a time. And so it was just like, you're excited to be like, okay, it's like a new episode's dropped. So I'm happy to have that like weekly, and like, it doesn't have that exhausting, like, okay, I need to like carve out my schedule to be able to binge this, to be able to talk about it.
I prefer it. I prefer it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's less overwhelming for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of Lord of the Rings, we joked recently, if you'd have told me in 2001 that in 2022 you'd be getting more Lord of the Rings content and first era stuff and stuff that a lot of people haven't even read about, because a lot of it comes from the Silmarillion. What are your thoughts on that? How big of an impact was Lord of the Rings on you?
I'm a very casual Lord of the Rings fan. And it's funny because I have committed. So I have not read the books. I know, but I watched all of the movies, like, when they came out back in the day. I haven't gone back and watched them in a long time, but I have committed to, after some like strong arming from my husband, I have committed to watching the extended edition versions of all of the movies. So as soon as I can find like 12 hours that I just don't have anything going on, we'll be doing that. But yeah, I mean, I think it probably is the same, the same situation with any of these like really established and beloved things, where it's like it's such a thin line that they have to walk to like not mess it up. And then we've had so many instances where it's like they just should have never like revisited some of these things. So I hope that avid fans of Lord of the Rings don't end up feeling that way, that it's just something they should have never touched.
Well, my hope is that you'll fall in love with young Galadriel is my hope, and you'll within a year's time have a song about being young Galadriel. That's my hope.
Beth, we have like a whole wish list of songs, just waiting. So if you're looking for any ideas,
for content, man, I mean,
we got you back.
You like the massive like to read / to watch list that I have, like I can't even look at it because it just fills me with so much anxiety.
So overwhelming. I'm the same way, sis. I feel you. I'm the same. My list is a mile long and I'll never get through it all.
When I feel like I'm like 5 years behind, I'm like, reading and watching the stuff that people were talking about like 5 years ago. And I'm like, let's talk about it. And everyone's like, that's old. Like
when it comes to Supernatural, I'm like 10 years behind. So
that's another one that people I think
Want songs
because of
about?
the stuff that I do think that I would like, and I just haven't like, because that's a big commitment. That's a lot of seasons.
It is.
So
15.
Massive
and I've
commitment.
made some of the book series that I enjoy the most are like, I mean, these gigantic books, and there's like 5 or 6 of them, and it really limits like your ability to watch or read or listen to lots of things, because you feel like you're spending so many hours on just one thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just not enough time. There's not enough time to get it all done.
You ever see that movie Click with Adam Sandler?
No, but I remember it.
Like
That was one of his like serious roles, right?
Yeah, he had this remote that he could pause time and rewind and fast forward and blah blah blah. And all the time, I'm wishing that I had that, so I could just freeze everything, all my commitments, and I could just sit down and watch all the things and be caught up. So
it would be great if like when you were like watching something or reading something, that time like you didn't have to like go back or anything, that time just suspended. So it's like you'd be like, all right, I'm gonna watch this, and it's not gonna actually eat away any of my like hours. So
who needs sleep, right?
Elon Musk should get on that.
Yeah, he should.
If anyone can do it.
Not that, I mean, I know that he's not the one that actually invents a lot of these things, but
well, paying for it counts for something.
Paying for it, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
A big reason that we started our conversation with you over a year ago was your love for The Witcher, and your song that was coming out at the time in the end was Witcher based. And since then we've had season 2 of The Witcher, season 3 is on the horizon. It's such a good show. Cavill is so down for it. There's no telling how many seasons we'll get out of it. I mean, it's so good that we could get 7, 8. There's a lot of source material, so keep bringing it on. So, what were your thoughts and favorite moments of season 2?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, definitely like Ciri was like more frustrating in the season because I guess she's a teenager. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we watched it all within like a couple days of it coming out, and trying to think of like favorite moments. I think the big fight that's in the like where all of the like witches are, the big fight against like the guy with the burned face that we don't still really know like who he's working for. I mean, that was a great fight scene for sure. And then I like anything with the bard.
Oh yes, Skier.
Yes, anything with him, like he just adds such a like much needed like balance to how surly and serious the Witcher is. Like I just love the dynamic of the two of them. So anything that he's in, he's got some of the best lines, and you can tell that he enjoys playing the part.
Well, in each season, he keeps giving us banger music to listen to. Season 1, it was the theme, and the other one that he sings at the party that's we can't really quote on this show. But this season, he basically gave us a swift Adele-style breakup song, "Burn Butcher Burn," which was basically him being broken up with by Geralt, and it's rock, it's a ballad, it's everything in between, and it's epic, and it's on replay on my driving playlist constantly, the same way everything Yaskir's done, and he's actually doing all the singing, so it's also really cool that he can sing.
I feel like in this day and age, there's not much of an excuse for actors to like for them to not find actors that can do their own singing. It's not like stunt work, like you should be able to get somebody that can sing to play the part of a bard. So
absolutely.
But yeah,
I wish that were the rule for the Les Mis movie, and they could have sang other than
Russell Crowe, man.
So
and along those same lines, like in the first High School Musical movies, Zac Efron didn't sing the Troy part.
It was Drew Seeley.
And then in the other ones he did. Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, to me, it's so weird when you actually have somebody that can sing. Because, like, he's not a terrible singer. Like, is he, bound for Broadway? No, but, like, he can carry a tune. So it's weird to me when they don't. And the same thing with Vanessa Hudgens. I think they dubbed her with, like, somebody else in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, she can sing. I mean, she's gone on to do theater, like, musical theater stuff. So it's like, why take somebody who can sing and have somebody else sing for them, like, as if people aren't going to realize it.
I definitely agree. There's no excuse. So before we start recording, you and I talked about a mic drop moment at the end of season 2, and Josh is okay with us talking about it. Did you see that coming? Did you think that we were going to get Siri's father or Dooney back?
I mean, it's one of those things that I did not see coming. Maybe I should have seen it coming, because the, like, parent you think is dead that's not actually dead is, like, a very, like, well loved and much used trope. Yes. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of the perfect place to end a season, because now they have to go into, okay, well, how did he become, like, this, like, villain that they've been referring to, but we don't actually see who it is. And that probably should have been the first clue. Like, when you're hearing about this bad guy and you don't actually, like, see them yet, like, that should put up, like, a flag that, like, okay, it's probably going to be somebody that you've already been introduced to and you don't expect. But I feel like it leaves it in a really interesting place to be like, okay, well, how did this come about? So
because the last time we saw Dooney, he was cured. He was in love with Siri's mom. They were bound for marriage. Happy. Everything's great. And now we see him as the leader of Nilfgaard, the bad guys, the people who have been tormenting everybody left and right for world domination.
Well, and also he hasn't aged, so we got to figure out, like, well, why does he look the same as he did? Because he's Siri's, okay, so he's Siri's dad, and then my phone was just like, what do you want from Siri? Whoops. But yeah, like, he's her dad, and then the grandmother, that was her mom's mom, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But like, he doesn't look like he is aged. So no. I'm curious to see kind of what's at play there. And I mean, who knows? It could be one of these, because they had the character, was it last season, the one that could, like, wear all the different faces, like, that could. Yes,
the faceless.
So I'm like, is that going to be the first thing that they do in season 3? Is be like, just kidding. He's, like, somebody that can look like anybody, and it's not her like, actually her dad.
That'd be a cop out.
It would, yeah.
Mic drop opens up so much great complexity in the story that they could tell. It's like, what turns great men evil? And is it really all based on finding his daughter? Like, is it just a father's love? But I thoroughly enjoyed this season. You got all the great tropes that continued over. Geralt and Yen moments, Geralt and Yaskir moments. We got to go to the realm of the Witchers and meet all of his friends, the other Witchers, and they kind of train Ciri some. And there's even that last moment in the last episode where they save Ciri from possession. And it's like all of them saying, "Come home, Ciri, come home." And it's like, my bigger shock was, I thought that, and I'm blanking on his name now, is Geralt's friend, the older guy, the older Witcher.
Yeah.
Who trained him. I thought that Mark Hamill was a shoo-in for that part. I know that he was in talks with it, and I guess it just didn't work out. The other guy got the part, but I thought it would have been very intriguing to see Mark Hamill kind of take on a TV show.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, I don't really know. I mean, he seems like he's a lot of fun based on his Twitter. I don't really know like what he's been up to, but like what he's been in or projects he's done recently. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he's somebody that I want to see more of because he does have, you know, a lot of personality.
Yeah. So what are some things that you, I know you don't typically like to speculate, but what do you want to see from your knowledge of the Witcherverse and stuff like that? What do you want to see come in season 3 stories that you've read?
Well, the nice thing is that I'm not familiar with the source material, so I don't have that like expectation in place. I just get to, you know, kind of be along for the ride as a first timer, being introduced to all of this stuff. But like, I definitely am excited to see the kind of weird family dynamic that Geralt and Yen and Ciri are gonna have now that they're all together. Yeah, and I'm definitely curious to know who like the burn face dude is, like the woman who she is that seems to be this kind of like side mischief.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's nice when you're sometimes not familiar with what it's based on, because I just get to like sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we've talked about all the things that have been coming out lately and all the things that we've got to look forward to. With all this content, can you tell us if you've had any inspirations for anything at all popping up for a new song or songs in the future?
I'm always like, I've always got my little feelers out there. I'm always contemplating. I mean, I've had the idea of like, it would be fun to do a Stranger Things inspired song, but with like some super 80s production. Cause I just think it's the coolest thing in the world that Running Up That Hill, like, you know, has
blown up
completely, like, yeah, like, you know, the song that's like 25 years old that, you know, people just, I mean, it just goes to prove that if you have the right song with the right visual, like it just is so impactful. I've thought about that. There's definitely a couple of books that I'm looking to do something on. And I mean, gosh, like I have the beginnings of an idea for a song about Loki from like the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Yeah, so like I keep a running list of like things that strike me that would be interesting perspectives. And so yeah, so the world is my oyster. I have all kinds of ideas, and we'll just kind of see which ones actually come to fruition.
Did you happen to watch Sandman on Netflix?
I did not.
That would be one that you could probably come up. Yeah, you could do some real juicy stuff with that probably.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely check that one out.
There's just so many amazing options. And I know like a song that Hard to Kill that I wrote about a book series is now like a Netflix series. So I feel like there's still some room to potentially do something with that. You know, an additional song that's based on that kind of universe. And yeah, I mean, it's fun to be able to like, it's a fun like songwriting practice to find these like stories and perspectives and then, you know, channel it into a song. That my goal is always, if you have seen it, then you like can make the connections, but if you haven't seen it or read it or whatever, like it still stands on its own, or you can relate it to other things. And so yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless, literally endless. So I'm going to be busy.
No matter what you put out, we're always going to be excited and can't wait to see what more. I mean, like I said, in the small span of a year, you have released some amazing tracks with beautiful writing. And I'm excited to see what the next year holds for Beth Crowley.
I am too. I will tell you, my biggest project for next year is it's going to be the 10th anniversary of when I put out Warrior. So I have a big 10th anniversary. I actually just got back from the studio on Thursday, I've got like my strings players that have played on like Empire, and in the end they're doing a whole string, you know, we're doing basically a completely new version of Warrior with a big music video to go with it. So that's kind of the main like major project I've got going on for next year.
Well, like we said in the last time, if you ever need physical actors to be in these music videos, we are theater kids. So, and speaking of, I don't think I the last time we talked, I've praised enough about your song musicals. I know it's like an early one of yours.
Yeah.
It's also like in my driving playlist to just replay because I love how witty it is.
Thank you. Yeah, that was like that chapter of you know, time where I was doing the like 90-second songs. I just did, I did so many just like goofy, ridiculous, like little mini songs. And that one was definitely one of my favorites.
Well, that and obviously In the End and Warrior and all those and Happy, they're in my head constantly, especially Happy because I went through a pretty similar story with the Happy one and I love it. It's so snarky and I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed writing that one. I could definitely at some point see myself writing musical theater where I do get to write some humor. Like that's kind of my ultimate, like I would love to write a musical. So maybe
that'd be awesome.
Maybe when things start slowing down a little bit with my music stuff, like that'll be my shift. But yeah, I would love to do that.
Writing the like the script, the story for a musical is on my bucket list. So maybe a future collab right here.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So something that we love to do when we have guests on the show is rapid fire questions where you just give us the immediate answer that comes to your head. Okay. Are you ready, Beth?
I'm ready. Maybe.
All right. Out of all of the franchises of anything, who's your favorite hero character?
Neville Longbottom.
Wow.
There's a first.
I wasn't expecting that. Didn't even have to think about it. That's what we want. That's amazing.
All right.
Now, who out of all the franchises, who's your favorite villain?
Probably, I mean, Snape. Snape, because I love a villain that isn't just straight up evil. Like I love a villain that that's like 3-dimensional, that you kind of understand how they got to be the way they were, and even better if they have a redemption arc. Like I love complex villains for sure.
I do too. That's a great answer, because I would argue that he's really one of the biggest heroes of the entire story of Harry Potter.
I mean, that is true, but he also, like, we cannot erase the fact that he just completely antagonized Harry for basically 6 years.
He was toxic. He was very right.
He was. And you find out kind of why, but also it doesn't excuse it. So I think that, I mean, he was definitely for 6 seasons not having the context, like Harry's villain.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
So if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Probably flying. It would be nice to be able to get places sooner. Like, I don't want to be able to read people's minds. That sounds awful.
That's I've said the same thing.
Absolutely. I don't want to know what anybody's thinking, because I think that would just be really sad.
We interviewed someone last week and they said teleportation. And I was like, you know what? That's actually probably better than flight, but I think I would like the process of flying so much.
Honestly, because I don't love heights, I feel like teleportation, that might actually be my answer.
Right? Yeah.
I don't, especially not have it, like, at least when you're looking out of the window of a plane, you're like, okay, I'm like encased in protection, but just like out flying, teleportation would be much better, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Yes.
All right, and out of all the franchises that you love, which one would you say is your number one favorite franchise?
It's Harry Potter. I mean, if you haven't been able to already tell, it's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It will always be Harry Potter. Harry Potter has my heart. Like, I think part of it is because, like, I know we're similar ages, and just that, like, For me, I mean, because I know that you guys like asked me favorite movies, which I have written down. Like so much of it is like the association of like, I mean, going to like midnight movie premieres and releases, like going to, you know, I would go to Borders, if you remember Borders bookstore.
Yeah.
Or like Media Play. I feel like that's one that I went to at least once or twice. But like, you know, going and getting the book at midnight and like I'm staying up all night to read it, and like collective, you know, anticipation and waiting for the next one to come out. I was having this discussion with my husband recently. And these are just the kind of things that I think about that I like say out loud, and he's just like, whoa. I was like, we're just sitting in the car, like going to Zaxby's or something. And I was like, if you could experience something for the first time again, what would it be? And he was just like, okay, we're going that deep. Okay. Because what made me think about it is like, I wish that I could read Harry Potter for the first time again, and experience it for the first time again. Because it just was like, so, I mean, it was just such a cool time to be alive.
Yeah. Good times.
Yes.
Great choice. And I don't think like, you know, the MCU is big and all that, but I don't know if today we'll ever have that anticipation again for a vast amount of people. Because like MCU midnight showings are big in our circle. But globally, I mean, Harry Potter's midnight showings were, I mean, especially in a town like Morristown, where you think where we're at, you know, where it's a smaller town, you know, it's more like a Rome, Georgia area. It was packed.
Yeah.
And just like you would think it was the Friday night football game in this town. It's like people in their cloaks and their toy wands and with the book, they're gonna sit and hold the book while watching the movie. Just like
a security blanket.
Yeah, it's like a security blanket. Just like, and I don't think that exists anymore.
It's very special.
I mean, I think the closest thing has been the like collective anticipation of Game of Thrones episodes, like we were talking about, where it's like you have so many people that are just like anticipating the same thing. But no, I mean, and I don't know that anything could like, because there's just so much out there. I don't know that anything could be like that now, because there's just so much content when it comes to like books and movies and TV, and so much great stuff that I don't know that we're going to experience that again. And I'm just really grateful that I got to like be a kid / teenager, / into my early 20s, like, you know, got to
like Harry did. I mean, we grew up with Harry.
Yeah.
Ron and Hermione. And it was a cool journey to kind of, it's like we didn't get our letters. We weren't getting to go to Hogwarts, but we were at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just special. It was a special thing to be able to experience in real time.
So you mentioned the top 5 movies. We are in the midst of our season finale, and for it, we have done the insane task of doing a top 30 for 30 and Nerdy. So we both sat down for the last couple weeks and thought about our 30 top films. So count yourself lucky. We're just asking for 5 from you. So what is Beth Crowley's top 5 favorite movies?
I don't even know that this is accurate. This is just what I was able to come up with today. It's like when people ask me like, who's your favorite music artist or what's your favorite song? And I'm like, oh my God, it's like, that's impossible to. So I like, number 1 was like the Harry Potter franchise. I figured we would be able to count that as one entry. And like the rest of them, I just kind of was like, okay. So this is kind of a random list. I have A Christmas Story.
Good choice.
It was a foundational part of my childhood. I had a Christmas Story viewing party for multiple years when I was in high school that I would make a leg lamp cake for, and have like my friends over to watch A Christmas Story. Like my family has just always loved it. We would watch it when it was doing the like 24 hours of A Christmas Story. So that's one of those, like the movie itself is iconic, but also like just, you know, the associations I have with it are, you know.
So what we do, if I can interrupt real quick, what we do is we obviously do that, and while it's paying 24 hours, we watch it 4 or 5 times within the day.
Yeah.
Spend one whole time just watching the dad.
Oh yeah.
Just watch his character, and it sells the entire movie for me. Like his faces.
He's great.
Oh,
he's great. I mean, we just like, I know that movie so well. Like, there's very few movies that I've watched enough that I can actually, like, I'm not one of these people that can quote many movies, but like that one I've just seen so many times, and it just never, like, you never get tired of watching it. Like,
no, you don't.
it's just great. It's great. I mean, yeah, like I love that movie. So yes, hard shift from Harry Potter, but that's what I wrote down next. I had School of Rock.
Oh, good choice.
Thank you. Just
I'm
one
seeing
of the movies that, like, it's been way too long since I've watched it, but just like from top to bottom, like that movie is fantastic.
I'm seeing Tenacious D next month, and I'm so excited. That's great. Wow, what
Jack
a good choice.
Black is great. Like,
He is a treasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I will never get over the fact that Dave Grohl played the devil in The Pick of Destiny. Like, just fantastic.
You're not hardcore unless you live hardcore, baby.
Yes. Gosh, we used to sing Tenacious D in high school all the time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I had School of Rock as one of these movies that, like, I cannot tell you the last time I watched it, but I just love it.
But you treasure it. I understand that.
Yes. I have Easy A is one of my, like,
freaking movie.
Top movies.
Yeah.
Just one that I just love to watch. Like, I think Emma Stone is hilarious in it. Like, such a memeable movie. It's great. And then I couldn't pick a fifth one. I was just trying to go through and be like, okay, what's something, like, I have so many movies that I love and I've seen a million times that it would probably be just like 100-way tie for.
Well, yeah, I understand that. A good Emma Stone movie, House Bunny. Have you seen it?
Yeah, great movie.
It's a freaking movie. We quote that. Me and my brother and sister quote that movie all the time to each other. And if someone says their name to us, if we're all three together, they'll be like, "Oh, hi, I'm Jake." One of either my brother or sister, one will go, "Jake." Like, I'll just look at him and I'll go, "Stop."
Such a great movie.
Whatever happened to Anna Faris? Is she still doing stuff?
She had that show.
Mom.
Yeah, the one.
Yeah,
that
she
had that show for a long time.
Allison Janney was on that.
Yeah. And then I don't know what she's done since then, but, like, really, what has anybody done since the pandemic? That was like, everything just kind of went wonky. So
yeah.
I feel like some people haven't, like, even come back into.
No, a lot of people haven't. And you would think that, like, as long as the heart of the pandemic was, and, like, we couldn't go anywhere, that would have been an opportunity for a lot of us to be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to catch up on that list I've made of books and movies and stuff. But I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
We had all this time. And I was like, the other day, I was like, I'm pretty sure that, like, when I came home from Atlanta, like, dead set, ready to hunker down for the long term of this thing, I made a physical list. Here's what I can catch up on. I can't work. I can't go anywhere. So here's what I'm going to do all hours of the day and night. And I didn't do any of that list.
I'm like, let me rewatch all of my comfort shows.
Exactly.
Yep.
We watched The Office for the 100th.
The Office for the 12th time.
Yep. I'm currently rewatching Arrested Development as one of my comfort shows, which I just love.
Funny show. I just started The Big Bang Theory, and I had never seen it. I had never seen it.
Love The Big Bang Theory.
I'm in season 9. Amy and Sheldon just broke up. So I'm trudging. One of the
few times that a show has introduced a character a few seasons in that it made the show, like, better. I feel like a lot of times they introduce characters and it just, like, changes the dynamic in a weird way, but I thought she was a great addition to it.
She was.
Cool thing about her is she knows everything they're talking about.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Like, to most of them, she's like, "You're learning a cue card. I know what your character's trying to say."
This is my life.
it's also one of those situations where on the show they talked about her in real life, like, oh, you know, the girl from Blossom, and then later on she was on the show, and they did that with Winnie Cooper as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I did
anyway.
breaking the little multi.
It's a good show. I don't know that I ever watched like the last couple of seasons, but yeah, we watched that show religiously.
The finale is quality. You should definitely see the finale if nothing else.
I've heard that they did a good job with how it ended.
Yeah, they did.
As we said, that's hard to do. It's hard to end things.
Very, very much so.
I feel like there's been a good streak of like, I feel like they ended Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fantastic ending.
That was a good ending.
Great ending. The Good Place.
That was a great ending. There's another spinoff coming. The Good Lawyer. Yeah.
All right. Who's in
it? Wonder why they didn't do The Bad Place.
Yes.
The Bad Place is in The Good Place. Well, I guess The Bad Place would be an interesting spinoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they did a great job with ending that show.
Office had a great finale, but I became and I was shocked that I'd ever say I became a fan of this character, because early on he was so obnoxious. I became a pretty big fan of Andy for some reason.
Really?
And I kind of felt like in those last couple seasons, the old Nard Dog got the shaft in a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Like he lost the girl, he lost the job, he didn't really get his fame dream. And they were like, oh, but he did get to speak at Cornell. Oh.
I mean, he got the fame, just not the way he had hoped for.
And I'd done a lot of digging, and a lot of that was quote unquote punishment, because he missed so much. Because he did the Hangover movies. And
somebody had to be in the Hangover.
Yeah, I mean, they would be like, it just felt like we'd build Andy and build Andy and build Andy and give him and then Ed had to leave for, 6 months, 7 months. And so we were just like, well, we just won't focus so heavily on Andy anymore. So,
makes sense, but also like isn't doing the character
any justice, really. Yeah. So speaking of ending things, as much as we hate to end our conversation with you, you were so amazing, and we were lucky enough to have you personally do our new theme, and I have yet to play it for Josh.
Never heard it.
No way.
I have been waiting.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I have been waiting for this, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to share a screen.
Oh, this is exciting. Oh man, I didn't know that you hadn't heard it.
No, he's kept it a secret for a long time.
Oh man,
he loves to like surprise me with stuff, and he knows that I hate surprises. So it's like this fun way of torturing me, but it always pays off, so it's fun.
I mean, I hope, yes, I hope that this will be a good surprise.
I'm sure of it.
All right. So we are.
Ooh.
Oh man.
I'm so excited for to hear this. Because I mean, we worked back and forth on this for most of the winter, didn't we? When did you start?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
It absolutely has. All right. Tell me if you can't hear. Okay.
Okay. I can hear it.
There once were two dudes who met back in college. Nobody loved pop culture more. So they started a podcast to talk all about it, and 30 and Nerdy was born. Oh, 30 and Nerdy was born. You might hear them chat about shows like The Witcher or movies like Lord of the Rings. And if Cheers to ya nerds.
Oh my God, Beth! I got a little emotional with that. That's wow, Beth, that was amazing. Wow,
Thank you so much. I
Thank
wanted
you.
to feel very like epic and questy. So I
love it.
I think I sent the first like idea to Tyler and was just like, is this too much? And he was like, no, it's the right amount.
It's right. It's
Wow.
perfect.
Wow. Thank you. That's incredible.
It is incredible. And the fact that you did that for us and after our first talk for an episode, it was one of the first things I thought about was I really want her to do a theme for us, like the way she writes, the way she is with words. I really want to do it. And like months had went by before I even messaged you about it. And this is what I loved about your process was you literally just did digging on your own and asked me questions instead of like, well, what do you want me to say? Like, I don't know, I'm not a songwriter, but you were just like, oh, okay, well, tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah.
And just in that talking, the Ballad of 30&Nerdy was born.
Yep.
Wow. Well, it was indeed a great surprise, worth the wait. Wow. Good. I'm so happy. And that was beautiful and amazing. And it will live forever on the 30&Nerdy podcast.
Well, I'm excited for it to debut to the world.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Beth, for joining us.
Absolutely.
We can't wait to have you back when season 3 of Will Witcher comes out. Make this
we'll make this an annual thing.
This is
done deal.
Thing. Absolutely. Just don't get so big with the blue check that you forget us. You know, I mean, hopefully one day we'll have a blue check and we'll be part of the club.
No, that's the goal.
We can have like trailers and espresso and
that is basically what my life is like now.
Only blue M&Ms in my trailer.
Only blue
Exactly. No, the next time I'll have like a writer to send you. It's to be like, here are all of my demands.
We'll make it happen. Anything for you, Beth.
Okay.
Anything.
I appreciate it, but I can guarantee you that's not going to happen. I'm a humble queen, okay?
I love it. We love a humble queen.
Awesome. I always love being on with you guys, and yeah, let's do it again.
We shall.
So, all right, perfect.